In the seaside village of Azure Bay lived two children known throughout the trading paths and shell-covered grounds for very different things. One was a girl named Tala. Tala was known simply as the honest heart. If she said the fish were biting, they were. If she said a path was muddy, it was a guarantee. She spoke the plain, reliable truth about everything. Tala often spent time helping her father mend nets woven from reeds, learning patience and precision. Her life was quiet, predictable, and productive. The other was a boy named Kael. Kael was a clever, charming boy, but he couldn't resist twisting the facts into magnificent, self-serving lies. If he caught a minnow, he'd swear it was a giant tuna. If he tripped, he'd tell everyone he dodged a falling dragon scale. No one ever truly believed Kael. Kael spent his days rehearsing grand tales for anyone who would listen, often inventing dangerous escapades just to secure a free treat from a kind elder. His life was noisy and full of fabricated drama. One hot afternoon, the two were wandering near the secluded rocky cove, Tala searching for sea glass and Kael pretending to fight invisible sea monsters. It was Tala, with her keen eye for detail, who noticed the disturbance, a heap of heavy, seaweed-draped net snagged on the rocks, twitching
Kael,
faintly.
Look,
"Kael, look," Tala whispered, pointing. "Something is caught in that deep-sea fishing net." "It's probably just a giant squid I scared into the trap," Kael boasted immediately, puffing out his chest. But as they drew closer, they saw something far more beautiful and sad than any squid. Tangled deep in the coarse rope and weighted down by a heavy sinker was a mermaid. Her tail, shimmering like opals and emeralds, was crushed by the weight of the thick, sodden knots. Her long, seaweed-colored hair covered a face full of distress.
"Please," she pleaded, her voice
me.
like the chime of distant sea bells.
Please
"Help me. The tide is turning, and soon the water will be too shallow. I am bound fast." The rough twine had already cut into her delicate scales, drawing tiny ribbons of crimson into the incoming water.
Kael saw not a trapped creature but an opportunity. "We can certainly help you, beautiful lady," he said, bowing low. "But such a heroic rescue deserves a heroic reward. What do you have for the mighty Kael, who will surely cut these ropes single-handedly?"
The mermaid looked weary but hopeful. "My treasures are not on land," she said, "but if you free me, I promise you both a pearl of the depths, brought up from the lowest ocean floor, a pearl that holds the light of the sun and the moon together."
"Done!" Kael cried, forgetting Tala completely as he grabbed a jagged piece of shell and began hacking uselessly at the thickest rope. He attacked the thick, damp rope with more enthusiasm than skill, making the entire net shift painfully around the mermaid. Tala, however, saw the complexity of the knots. She grabbed her own small, trustworthy, sharpened shell tool. "Kael, stop. You'll just make the knots tighter. We need to cut the thin lines near her tail first to relieve the pressure." Kael ignored her, claiming his brute force was clearly the faster way. But his jagged shell snapped and he scraped his knee, resulting in a dramatic, fake cry of pain.
It hurts!
Tala didn't hesitate. She quickly moved to the mermaid's tail, her hands working fast and true. She knelt, recognizing the fisherman's knots from years of practice, and focused her sharpened flint tool on the finer filaments that held the main tension, her brow furrowed in concentration. She sliced the thinner nylon lines one by one. Kael, seeing Tala was succeeding, quickly jumped up and loudly pulled the heavy sinker away from the mermaid, shouting, "See, I freed the heavy part. I did the mighty lifting."
Thank you, honest child. And thank you, boy, for your part.
"When will we get the pearl?" Kael demanded, already holding out his hand. "I deserve the biggest one, since I faced down a legendary kraken to get that sinker off her." The mermaid smiled sadly at Kael. "The reward will come when the sun meets the horizon, but I will only give the pearl to the one whose heart is true."
The reward will come when the sun meets the horizon, but I will only give the pearl to the one whose heart is true.
The wait for the sunset was agonizing for Kael. He paced, kicking up sand, and worried openly. She won't forget my heroic effort, right? He muttered, adjusting his stance to look more wounded than he was. Tala sat quietly on a smooth stone, watching the tide pools fill. She wasn't thinking of the reward, but of the smooth, cool feel of the mermaid's skin and the relief in her eyes as she swam free. Her peace contrasted sharply with Kael's fretful anticipation. As the sunset bled orange and violet into the sky, the mermaid returned, rising from the foam with a magnificent, closed oyster shell held aloft.
The pearl of the depths
The
is
pearl
here.
of the
But
depths
only the
is
truth
here,
will open
she
it.
announced.
Tell me,
But
both of
only
you,
the truth
exactly
will
what you
open
did
it.
to earn this reward.
Tell me, both of you, exactly what you did to earn this reward.
I am the hero. I single-handedly wrenched the net off her back while screaming defiance at the tide.
Tala stepped forward slowly. She looked at the mermaid and spoke with the clear, steady voice that always characterized her. We both helped. Kael pulled the rate, but he failed to cut the main knots. I cut the smaller ropes with my knife, and that is what truly freed you. The mermaid gently lowered the oyster. The oyster will choose its owner. Kael grabbed the oyster first. It's mine, he yelled, prying it open with his fingers. But the moment his lying hands touched the shell, it felt dry and brittle, and the oyster inside turned instantly to a handful of worthless sea foam, slipping through his grasp.
The pearl of truth reveals itself to the honest heart. The pearl of truth is yours, Tala. For a simple truth is stronger than the grandest lie.
Tala, humble as always, thanked the mermaid. The light from the pearl of truth was not magic in the way Kael had imagined. It didn't grant wishes or turn things to gold. Instead, Tala used its soft, unwavering glow to light her study table every night, aiding her father with his harvest logs. It became a reminder that true value lies not in what one claims, but in the honest actions one performs. Kael stood stunned, staring at the patch of foam on his hands. He kept his patch of sea foam as a bitter, secret memento, eventually learning to appreciate the simple truth for its own powerful sake. And from that day on, whenever Kael felt the urge to exaggerate, he thought of the pearl of truth and found the strength to speak a little less wildly.